This is Eric Rutan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay Smith.
G'day everybody, thanks so much for joining me, I appreciate it. I've got a conversation with Michael Barber from the group Gloryhammer to share with you. Michael is the group's keyboard player, and the catalyst for the conversation with him is due to an Australian tour which is happening throughout November of 2023. I'll leave the dates in the episode description. Now, throughout the chat, of course, we talk all about the tour and what Australian audiences can anticipate, the recent album Return to the Kingdom of Fife, and there's some quality banter about the situation ongoing between venues and bands with regards to royalties from merch sales. So here he is, Michael Barber.
Hello, mate. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, loud and clear. How's things?
Yeah, good, man. How are you?
Not bad at all. Right on time, too. I've got to hand it to you. It's been like that this last few days. Everybody's been right on time. It's not usually like that.
Just been doing a few back-to-back interviews for this tour. So,
yeah, gotcha.
Getting for him.
Yeah. How have you found it? How have you found the chats with us? It's probably like having a chat with someone next door, is it?
Yeah, it's really easy. I've got like a lot of friends from Australia, so I kind of get the humour and it's easy.
Yeah, I got to agree. I've done so many of these. I'm up to almost 800 at this point. Apart from the fact that, we don't get along around sport or what have you. I mean, you wouldn't bloody know you're speaking to a Brit or an Australian. I think they're pretty much interchangeable these days. Yeah, fair enough. Hey, so we're here to talk about your tour, which is coming up in November, I believe. Okay, and Dicey's putting that one on too. So
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, in preparation for the chat, I read on the Wall of Sound website that in 2014, and I know you weren't quite in the band then, but is there some sort of myth or lore going on about this 2014 Australian tour? Because they claim it was one of those tours you had to be at, and that's rarely said.
That's literally, that's one of the guys I was just speaking with was saying, and I think it is the kind of case as well. Yeah, the other guys in the band are always just like, can't explain it. You just had to be there.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. I haven't got much background on the band, actually. I know that there's four albums out there, but are you guys a bit of an underground sensation, are you?
We're doing pretty well in Europe, and we've just done our third tour of the USA, which was the I guess the first tour we've done there, which was comparable to the European tour. So it seems like going there 3 times, it's like the magic number. We've kind of cracked that. So we're just trying to get into new markets now. Obviously, there was that tour in 2014, but it wasn't really a serious tour. It was. I think they had some mates who wanted to bring the guys over, and they were all playing on borrowed instruments, and it was just a big piss up, basically.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely you had to be there if that was the case. Those tours are usually like that. When you go on stage after your 4th beer, that sort of thing, and you throw caution to the wind.
Yeah.
They're rare, and you can only do it at that stage.
Yeah, a bit of a rock and roll tour,
Yeah, I'll get you. Yeah. Hey, what's the reception been like to the latest album, Return to the Kingdom of Fife? Has that met your expectations and surpassed them?
Yeah, it's been really good. It was the first album with a new singer. It's the first album with me as a co-writer. Previously to that, it's mostly just been Chris from Aylestorm. I think this time when we tallied up the sort of royalties, I'd actually written a little bit more than him, and it's the first time I've written a power metal album. I tend to write more kind of extreme metal, so it's not quite in my wheelhouse. But I'm super chuffed with how it turned out. It was really fun, and I'm really happy with the reception as well. I think now the songs have had time to sort of settle with people. We've just done this European festival season. Fans are like bringing us kind of drawings they've done based on the new songs and stuff like that. So they seem to have resonated with people.
Yeah, gotcha. What's the go with the lore within the band? Is it Zargothrax? Is that your nickname or your alter ego?
Yeah, so it's the kind of character that I play. Yeah, so you basically got like this core cast of main characters, I guess. And whoever's sort of in the band at the time is just kind of playing the role of like the on-stage role of that character. But they're not really kind of us, if it makes sense. We're just sort of representing them on stage.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. What about, you mentioned extreme metal there, and that's generally more my wheelhouse too. Occasionally I get these sort of opportunities, so it's interesting you mentioned that. So what was the lure or what was the attraction to playing something different?
Initially, I've known Chris and I've known Jim, the bass player, since probably like 2009 or something. And I remember going to Jim's house. Well, not really house. I won't go into that, but more of a squat. But he'd asked me to record some guitar solos on like a death metal project he was doing, and I remember, we were sat there drinking a bit of cider and recording these like silly Slayer solos and stuff like this. And he was like, "Oh, I'm starting a band with Chris. It's called Gloryhammer," and he showed me this demo. It was with the original vocalist. This is two vocalists ago, and I remember him showing me these demos, and to be honest, I wasn't very impressed. I was like, kind of, good luck with that, mate. And then a year or two later, they were like, "Oh, we've got to deal with Napalm. We've got a proper vocalist." And I remember them showing me the album, and I was like, "It's not really my kind of thing, but it's pretty cool, And I ended up working for them as a guitar tech on the first tour back in 2013 or so. And I just kind of got to know everyone. I kind of got to understand the vibe and the music a bit, and I was like, "This is fun." And then I remember Chris sending me some stuff from their second album. And it just felt like they'd sort of stumbled onto this formula now where it wasn't just like a power metal tribute band, they'd become their own band. And I was just like, wow, this is actually pretty impressive, And I remember at that point I was a bit jealous because I was like, man, these guys are killing it. And I'm sat in my bedroom playing like black metal riffs, And then when Chris got busy with Ailstorm, he sort of passed the reins on to me. And it took a bit of kind of digging in myself because I used to love power metal when I was a teenager. I just sort of fell away from it a bit. And then as we toured with more and more bands, we were touring with Hammerfall, we were touring with, all these cool bands. And I kind of fell back in love with what I used to like about it, the kind of over the top, kind of like concentrated heavy metal, it kind of started to appeal to me again. So I just found myself back in it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and it sounds like the title "Return to the Kingdom of Fife" is like tying up the loose end of that not so excellent debut, Tales from the Kingdom of Fife. Is that what the deal is there?
Yeah, basically. I mean, you probably know there's like a sort of overarching storyline that's kind of going from album to album, and it's kind of disrupted at the end of the third album with all kinds of shenanigans, but to cut it short, basically we find ourselves back at the first album with our new one. It starts off kind of just after the first album's finished, and we kind of wanted the music to represent that as well. Like the first album was really influenced by bands like Rhapsody and stuff like this. Like it's kind of classic late 90s, early 2000s power metal. So we're trying to bring those musical influences in to fit the storyline because it's kind of set so close to the first album.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, and because you just mentioned there that the royalties reflect that you've written a lot more. So do you write separately or together, or do you bring a song into the rehearsal room? How does that work?
Because we're all based all over the place, we tend to just write using like different software. We use I don't know if you know, like Guitar Pro.
Yeah, sure. You're on a user, so
we use that. We use that for the basis of our writing because it's so easy for everyone to just jump in and edit the file without sort of committing to recording anything. So we'll sort of hash out the skeleton of the song in Guitar Pro. That'll get sent backwards and forwards between everyone. And normally, it'd be like, me or Chris or someone will like sort of post in the group and be like, "Hey, I've got an idea," and then someone else will be like, "All right, well, I'll work on it for a little bit. Give me an hour or so." And then they'll send it back, and you kind of just like back and forth between people. And once you get into the flow of working like that, then normally you can kind of get the structure of the song done pretty quickly. And then we start demoing like vocals and different instruments and stuff like this, and see what works. And if it does, you're done. And if not, then it's kind of back to the drawing board.
Are there many arguments, and who has right of veto?
Um, I mean, if someone really thinks something sucks, then we'll kind of be like, all right, as long as it's a valid reason, then we just sort of tend to bin an idea off. But most of the time we're on the same page. Yeah, most of the time we're on the same page, to be honest. Like, I think we've got an understanding of what Gloryhammer is and what it needs to be.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah. What about, because you're clearly talented with regards to guitars and keyboards, and no doubt you got some ability on bass and maybe even drums as well. So what got you into playing?
Definitely not drums.
Bloody
not
drums, though.
I started taking classical piano lessons when I was like pretty young, and I did them for a few years, but I wasn't really enjoying them, to be honest. So I got to about maybe like 8 or 9 years old, and I just kind of dropped them. Maybe a bit older, but then around about sort of 10 or 11, I started getting into like heavy metal. And I remember school I was at had a bass, so I was kind of messing around with the bass. I remember teaching myself like a few Black Sabbath riffs and stuff like that. And then one of my friends got a guitar, and I just remember like having a go on it, and it just felt way nicer in my hands. And I was really into like Ozzy Osbourne and kind of Judas Priest and stuff like that. All the stuff with these like screaming guitar solo. And Pantera and stuff like that, and I was just like, this is way more my thing, So a few years of kind of intensive practicing, but then recently it's come full circle. Now I'm kind of back to studying classical piano, and I kind of feel like I shot myself in the foot by sort of dropping it so young. I kind of feel like I should have kept it up. But yeah, it's always been there. I've always been into practicing and trying to learn new things.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I think if we all had a wand we could wave and go back and continue on with the talent, then bring us magically back into the present with all the skills we would have developed over those intervening years. Yeah, mine's singing. I know. So I lost the ability to sing after being in choirs and touring in them and stuff, and I've had to pick it up recently, playing in bands a lot, and now I sound like Richard Butler from Psychedelic Furs. So it's
the same with me actually. I was in school choirs and stuff for quite a bit when I was younger, so I can hold a note, but I think I wouldn't call what I do singing. No,
it's the same. I know. Yeah, it's we just sort of vocalize, and I suppose that's the way to put it. But a layperson would look at it and go, "Hey, they're singing," but whatever. It's a bit different when you've got a real vocalist next to you and you go, "Okay, that's singing," but whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I read an interview with you, and you were quoted as talking about your thoughts on the percentage of royalties that venues were taking from merch sales and that sort of thing. And it's a hot topic at the moment. So, what are your thoughts on it right now?
Well, nothing's really changed, and I don't think they will until there's like a kind of mass veto, I guess. Like if enough people stood against it, then maybe it would change. But I mean, I don't think it could possibly happen, to be honest, because everyone wants to keep working, and for the entire music industry to just stop and say, we're not going to do any gigs for a while, it's not going to happen, really. So I don't know. I don't know what the future is, and unless one of these big companies realizes the damage that they're doing, and they realize that bands can't afford to keep playing, then I don't think it'll change, and I don't think that'll be the case, because they're obviously only doing it because they want to make more money. So
there's got to be a way around it, though. And I've got my thinking cap on about this one here, because you're right, it's wrong. It's dead wrong, actually. Have you thought about just putting up what the merch is behind a desk or what have you, and then effectively you order it, so you're not actually exchanging funds there, you're ordering what you can see.
Someone was telling me that they'd done this in the USA, that they'd basically just had a load of flyers with like a QR code on it, and they were like, look, order this online, and we'll get it sent out to you ASAP once we get home. So that's one way around it, and some bands have started just sell their own merch outside of a venue, but then if you don't have a vendor's license, then the venue would kind of be able to, if they wanted to, they could just call the cops on you, and then you end up with all your merch being seized and stuff like this. So it's really tricky, I mean, it's
a tough one. Yeah. Oh, it's a tough one, but it's one that we've got to, as an industry, we have to face at some point in time. There's got to be a reckoning about it. I mean, Pearl Jam were talking about it way back in 1992 or 1993 when they were giving their shirts to bootleggers outside who were selling the bullshit ones. They said, forget about the garbage ones, the ones that you've done for $2 or whatever. Here's the real ones. Sell them, and we'll just cut a deal at the beginning. So I cut a deal at the end of the night. So it's been going on for 30 plus years, I think it's fair to say. And it just seems to have, for some reason, the bubble has burst now. But it's good that you're talking about it. It's good that high-profile artists are talking about it, because if you don't get your money from merch sales on the road, mate, the chances of you breaking even, and it won't happen.
Yeah, it's kind of basically all we get nowadays. So.
Well, there he is, ladies and gents, Michael Barber, a quick one, but a good one. Nice to have some of those bite-sized conversations to share with you from time to time. Now, if you like that one, there are far more conversations over at scarsandguitars.com. And if you like listening, I know you like reading, because I've written a book, Scars and Guitars Volume 1, Conversations from the World of Heavy Metal and Beyond. Click the link in the banner and you'll be taken to a marketplace of your choice. You can download a sample, and if you do complete the purchase, do hit me up, because I want to thank you personally. On that note, I've got much more information with you to compel you to check out the book in the moment. But before we get to that, I want to bid you a fond farewell. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I'm the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast. Until next time, it's a goodbye for now.
This is Eric Rattan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew Mackay-Smith.
I've been the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast since 2017. The first musician I interviewed for the show was David Vincent from Morbid Angel, and things have just snowballed from there. In all, I've posted almost 650 podcast episodes featuring conversations with many of the leading lights of rock, heavy metal, and beyond. It just got to a point where I thought, I need to write a book about all this, so that's exactly what I did. In Scars and Guitars Volume 1, you'll read a heap of deep reveals and commentary, such as Des Fafara talking about Cold Chamber and why the band will never return.
If you're a band just starting out, you need to hear me. Do not start a band with partners. Ever.
Yeah, wise words there. Sage advice, mate, for anybody.
Don't ever, because I can't go do Cold Chamber right now unless I get others involved.
Phil Anselmo talks about the episode in his career which gives him the greatest sense of accomplishment.
I think the staying power of the fans and the staying power of the songs, whether it's Pantera, Down, or Superjoint, the fans remember the songs.
Alex Skolnick from Testament confirms that, yes, playing the guitar in Ozzy's band is anything but an ordinary gig. Will Silent Oz from Dimmu Borgir write a book? Pa from Sabaton gives advice to people who want to start a band.
Look at the team around you, look at the bandmates. If the guys want to be on the stage, then it's all cool. If the guys want to be backstage, then it's not going to be cool.
Current and former members of Cradle of Filth discuss the band's seminal 90s material. Read about the reaction to George Lynch and Mark from Suicide Silence's comments when they throw shade at then President Donald Trump.
We have this idiotic monster, this egotistical, self-aggrandizing, complete piece of shit in there. I just can't understand how we've gotten to this place.
And yeah, we kicked a hornet's nest with Sepultura. Percussive overlord Gene Hoglan talks about recording with Chuck Schuldiner.
Chuck was always, he was very, very open-minded, and he was into having his musicians that were playing with him just reach out for the best stuff that they had.
Phil Campbell from Motorhead discusses what it takes to get sober. John Five answers his critics who dismiss his tenure with Marilyn Manson.
My name is John Five, and Manson gave me that name, and I had some of the best years of my life in that band and learned a lot.
And we get the lowdown on Treyarch Zagtoth from those who would know, including his mother. All across Scars and Guitars Volume 1, there are moments of tension, relief, tragedy, exhilaration, and throughout it all, you'll obtain insight that I believe no one else has managed to obtain from many of your favourite artists. So treat yourself. Scars and Guitars Volume 1 is currently available as an ebook with a print edition on the horizon. Follow the links attached and download a sample. I'm sure you'll be compelled to read the whole book.